Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. In today's Lego room update, a little bit of a different video. We actually have packed up everything for the Railway Days train show that we are displaying at this weekend. And I actually spent the day at the location getting everything set up. And as a result, the Lego room is in a pretty empty state at the moment. So we're going to take a look around the room at what got taken to the train show, talk a little bit about our experience packing everything up, talk about some of the upcoming plans we have as things come back into the Lego room, and a few other things along the way. So let's dive in and get started. So first off, you can see the Lego layout is pretty empty at the moment. The room is kind of a strange mix of empty and chaotic. Took a lot of different things to the train show. We've got our two corner modules that went, a number of straight track modules, our monster crossover went. We've got several buildings out of the Lego City that went as well. And some more track down at the end there. Obviously the grain elevator, the support building that goes with the grain elevator. And then several new modules that we built that we will be showcasing after we get back from the train show. So we've got the McGraw Oil set of modules. We've got the warehouse that we've been building. So some really cool stuff that we've been working on. But, as you can see, as a result, we really took a lot of stuff to the show. It took a couple of vehicle trips to get everything to the show. The setup wasn't too bad, but just a really, time-consuming process. It really takes more time than you think to, sort of tear down and pack up components of the layout to get them there. When I bring things back from the show, I will highlight some of the ways that we packed different modules. But a couple of things of note, we built some cardboard box, sort of modified cardboard boxes to hold the monster double slip crossover modules, to hold the wind turbine bases, and to hold the rail yard set of switches that we have at the back end of the layout there. So all of those got their own custom boxes. And that was something new for this particular show. I had not done that before. And it was a really good thing. It's something I've been thinking about for a while, and it was really helpful in moving stuff. Made sure that, if anything came off from those modules, that it was contained within its box, which makes it easier to fix up. But it also then allowed us to stack things on top of those boxes. Just made it a lot easier in general for getting those things out of the basement and into the car and onto the show. So really happy with how that worked out. And like I said, when I bring everything back from the show, I'll show you guys, what those boxes looked like and how everything sort of got broken down into different containers. Other things of note, I've not taken much in the way of train cars yet. I only took our Lego passenger express train just to do some initial test runs around the layout, make sure that the track was all smooth and level. And that went really well. So I will be packing up a number of trains to take to the show tomorrow for the first day of the show. So, I'll be getting those prepared, and we'll talk more about that as well in that sort of recap on how we moved things to and from the show. Now, we had some pretty lofty plans for the show. This was the initial layout that we were looking at and building towards. And this is pretty much how things ended up, with a couple of exceptions. So this section over here that has the grain elevator in it, these two sections flip-flopped and they got turned around. So our grain elevator is up here and it's actually on the outside of the layout, and the track is over on the inside portion of that table there. In addition to that, I ended up moving the windmill or wind turbine that was over on this corner module down here, or I guess on this picture it would be the equivalent of like right here, but imagine that sort of turned around so it ends up like over here. And the reason why I did that, I talked a little bit about there being some empty gaps that I wanted to fill, and I ended up putting 4 modular buildings across this section of the layout here, and 4 road pieces. So filled up that area nicely. Some of the other members of our group have put some other city buildings around there. So it's made a nice sort of full corner module over here. And it's something a little different for the wind turbine and its placement. So those are the big changes that happened with the sort of overall layout. Other than that, everything's pretty much stayed the same. And, really happy with how it looks. I think that it's going to be, an excellent layout for the public to see. Should be a lot of fun to run trains around. And as I mentioned, I took that monster crossover, and it's in the rail yard over here. So I will film the layout tomorrow. A lot of video of the trains in action moving around the layout, so you guys can get a picture of where everything is and how it looks. And I'll be posting that up probably tomorrow night after the show. So keep an eye out for that on the channel. Now, in terms of buildings and some of the different plans that we had for things that we were going to try to build, like I said, we worked on the warehouse. It is on display. It's not complete. The whole structure of the building is complete, but there still is a little work on the rooftops and a few other sort of details around the exterior of the building that still need to be completed. But largely, the building is there and looks really cool. The McGraw oil pretty much done, with the exception of one rooftop that we don't quite have the pieces that we need for that. But overall, I did not get the chance to build quite as much as I had hoped for the show. And, one of the big things that came up, obviously we did that monster crossover. That took more time than I expected. And, in addition to things just being really busy and hectic leading up to the show, these buildings took a lot longer to build than I thought. The warehouse is amazing, but it's a real intense build and relied on a lot of bricklink orders. So let's take a look at some of the remaining pieces that we have from our bricklink orders, and we'll talk a bit more about those. Now, as I highlighted in previous videos, we received a lot of bricklink orders for these buildings and some of the other builds that we wanted to work on. And it was, very much chaos going through these orders, trying to get the parts separated out for different builds and finding pieces that I was looking for. And as you can see, still a lot of pieces in play here that we need to get associated with their appropriate build. We are still working on the water tower, so that's something that we'll be finishing up, that will take care of some of the pieces in here. There are parts in here for a brick train depot CN locomotive. You can see some of that red back there and the black that's associated with that build. So we'll be working on that after the show. And, there are some more parts for the warehouse in here and a few other things, but was really hard to, get things sorted out with all these different orders coming in and parts for multiple builds across within one order. It's getting better now that the parts are getting thinned out, easier to find things in here. But there was also a number of issues with sort of how things were packaged up with the Bricklink orders that made things difficult. This is one example right here. I got a few Bricklink orders like this where all the parts were stuck together on top of each other. Not a great way to receive parts. Means that it's hard to see what specifically was in an order. Also requires me to go through and remove all the bricks here and separate everything out before I can get a good view of what was in the order, and to make the parts usable. The other thing that was really difficult with this is that a number of the pieces for the warehouse are this brittle brown. And pretty much the worst thing that you can do with these pieces is stick them down on top of other pieces and then have to take them off with a brick separator or otherwise, because you're just putting unnecessary force on these bricks and increasing the odds that they break. And that has definitely happened in a few cases, which is really unpleasant and not great to have happen at all. There's a few pieces that are broken but are in the builds because I was able to get them together well enough and they're in the middle of the build. Not something you'd ever really notice, and it should stay together sufficiently in the build. And as long as I don't take the build apart, probably okay. But this was super annoying to have so much of a brittle brick type in a build that you're working on. Because as you can see, there is just a ton of brown throughout these builds here, and most of that is for the warehouse. So that was really difficult. And then on top of that, having to very delicately take those bricks off of other bricks in the order that they came in. Really annoying, really painful, and stressful too. You don't want to have bricks break on you, especially when you're trying to use them for a build in the short term. Other things that were difficult and pesky, I got a number of bricks that were wrapped in saran wrap with tape on them, which makes it super hard to open them up. So that was pesky. Just extends out the time it takes to process stuff and to figure out what is in a particular collection of bricks. Now those were not the norm. I was happy with all the Bricklink orders we got. Really like all the parts, and it's going to be good in the end once we finish getting these all parceled out and allocated to their appropriate build. But just little things that were less than desirable when trying to build stuff on a time deadline, and less than desirable when you're dealing with very fragile pieces of Lego. So this is still going to be a big project once this train show is over. But I'm committed to getting this all sorted out, and we'll finish these builds up so that they are 100% done and in a good spot for both use around the layout here and for use at upcoming shows. But was happy with where I got things for the show, and they're very usable in their current state, and it's just going to be polished going forward. Other things of note, I didn't include lights with the grain elevator for the show, but did a test and was really happy with how the brick stuff modern Lego street lamps worked with the support building for the grain elevator. So we'll be integrating those after the show. I think they're going to really look awesome around the building there, and looking forward to seeing how that adds to the overall layout when we've got all the lights activated around the layout. And they worked so well that I got another set of these to work with the McGraw oil facility. I think those are going to be really impressive as well. And that's another thing that we'll be integrating after the show. So some cool lighting that's going to start to pop up around the industrial train yard side of the layout here in our Lego room that I'm quite happy about and looking forward to. Some other things that I picked up when I got that extra pack of street lamps from Brick Stuff. I also picked up this cool new vehicle lighting quick kit that I'm looking forward to trying out. I think it'll be a neat way to add another type of lighting to our layout. Continuing to increase the number of different ways that we have lighting in action around our layout. So looking forward to that and trying that out. And we also got more of our magnetic couplers. Really been happy with how these are working. So looking forward to trying that, or I guess continuing to integrate those in and around our layout. And then we also got some of these lights here, these hanging lights, which I think are going to go really well potentially in the warehouse. So we'll try that as well after the show. But looking forward to trying that out and seeing, a different way of lighting a building interior. I think they look interesting, and the warehouse is really awesome. I'm quite happy with the overall look of it. So interested to see how lighting works with it. And I think it should be an interesting effect. So just a few things that we managed to pick up there. We also got some other sort of expansion boards and another USB power cable that we can use as we start to really increase the amount of lighting around the layout so that we don't have everything powered off of one USB power pack. Another interesting thing of note that came up on a previous video, when we got our monster crossover, we also picked up more of these awesome tiles, railway tie tiles from Trix Bricks with that wood grain on them. And we are working on getting them completely, all the track around our layout using these particular railway ties. So in the past, it's been a bit of a mix of, no railway ties, some black railway ties, and then these wood grain ones. And the layout is almost, say it's about 80% of these printed wood grain ones. And after the show, we'll get rid of that last 10 to 20%, so that everything around the entire layout is now using these railway ties. So happy with how it's been looking and working. Another project that was a lot of time to go around and to put these on and to take the black ones off, especially these 1x4 ones, not too bad. The 1x1 tiles, a lot more time consuming. So a time consuming project overall, but one I think that's really worth it. And I've been happy with how it's been looking. So that's something to keep an eye out for in upcoming videos. So a lot of different projects that have been going on, a lot of work as we got, did a lot of building, a lot of packing up, getting things ready for the show. Also worked on a new train car that you'll see in an upcoming video. And, lots of other things as we were sorting bricks and just generally trying to organize things leading up to the show. So a lot of content ahead in addition to showing you guys the layout at the show. I'll also, as I mentioned, go through, the packing that we did, how everything was transported to and from the show, showing you the different containers and boxes. We will also look at each of the new buildings and lots of other great stuff ahead. Like I mentioned, we're going to finish those different building projects. I've also got all the locomotives and train cars that we've got in the queue are all over by our build table, and we're going to continue to work through those post train show. So looking forward to seeing what we can do there and getting each of those different locomotives and train cars up and running around our layout here. So keep an eye out for that. We'll highlight the different train cars and locomotives in our queue in an upcoming video and take a look at some of those long-lasting projects, especially some of the locomotives that we've been working on, and sort of get reacquainted with those projects and talk a bit about what was blocking us and, work through the remaining portions of those builds. So lots of great stuff ahead, but, really excited about this train show. Definitely a very odd feeling at the moment in the Lego room with how empty it is and, how chaotic. Looking forward to getting everything back again after the show and getting stuff, sort of set up and getting ourselves on a good track for a number of exciting projects this fall. Now, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for watching. We will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.